What's up, guys? Welcome back to Fatherhood Unscripted. Today we have a very special guest. But before we get started, we want to talk about Bark. Bark is a smartphone for your kids. It helps you not be too overprotective and not be spying on your kids, but also at the same time have an ease of mind when it comes to your kids being on a smartphone, being online, talking to friends. With Bark, you're getting an alert to your phone anytime there's bullying, foul language, any type of not safe for work content pops up, you're going to need an alert. So it's not about controlling what your kids are watching, but having an ease of mind when it comes to what they're seeing online and be able to have those conversations before anything crazy goes on in their heads or in their lives. And it just gives that peace of mind for parents. So if you guys are interested in Bark, you can use code unscripted on their website and you'll get 15% off your order. They have smartphones, watches, so check them out and use code unscripted at checkout. Let's jump into the episode. Well, today, guys, we are with Noel Cappelletti, and you have so many letters in your last name. I think that's what I was getting wrong when I was sending you the email. You got what?
Yeah.
Two P's, two L's, two T's?
You got it. Yeah, it's like in Mississippi.
Nice. Well, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah. So my name is Noel Cappelletti, and I'm a men's relationship coach and a dad myself. And I help men who are solid at work and they do well at work, but they're a bit reactive at home. Guys who can lead teams and handle pressure, but they kind of lose their calm and overreact with the people that they love the most. And so through working with the nervous system, I help men to control their emotions and regulate themselves to be the steady, grounded leader of their family that they want to be.
Awesome. So you kind of
Yeah.
get that build up all day of just all the stress and emotions that come with work, and then you go home
Oh yeah,
and blow up on your kids and wife.
totally. Absolutely not. And I was the same, and that's kind of how I got into it, my work didn't start as a textbook. It started from my life, for years I was the guy who could handle pressure at work, and I worked so much, man. I worked 7 days a week. And if you had asked me back then, why do I work so much? I would have told you I do it for my family. But the problem was I was never around, right? And it's such a common thing I find today is men kind of comparing their worth to how much money they make or how much success they can achieve at work. So it's just like work, right? And then you come home and you're bringing all this energy at home and it just doesn't jive, right? And so small things set you off, or at least that's how it was for me, and it's how it is for a lot of the guys that I speak with and work with. They shut down or get sharp, and then they instantly regret it. And they just want to be, leaders of their family, right? Like my goal is always to have been the spiritual leader of my family. That's what I strive for, and that's what I think many men can resonate with. I think we all want to be that calm leader for our family, and so a lot of the times, like what happened with me was I kept trying to like think my way out of everything, and that for me just kept getting me back to where I was. And so that's when I came across this nervous system work and something called polyvagal theory. And it really gave me the missing piece that I needed. And it's all rooted in like the latest cutting edge neuroscience, but it's very simple. It's just biology, right? And it explains why I'm reacting this way and why I did what I was doing and why people are doing what they're doing. And then, more importantly, how to change it, right? So once I learned how to regulate my state, everything changed for me. My tone changed, my presence and my patience at home. And so now I want to help as many other men as I can to do the same, to stay grounded, calm, and just steady when it matters most.
That's awesome. I think, I mean, nowadays we're kind of changing the way men work and see their relationship at home, which is awesome. And like for me, I used to work for a company, and I worked my way up in the company. The company shut down, and everything was tied into that. That was my identity, and that was who I was. That's what I did.
Yeah,
Worked my butt off to get there, and then everything
yeah.
shut down, and it was in the height of COVID, so nobody's hiring and couldn't find
Mm-hmm.
anything. And so I automatically just feel like it's my fault. And so I'm just taking out my wife, taking out my kids. And you're so wrapped up and you're like, well, I just don't know who the heck I am anymore because it's all that. That's
So,
really
so,
awesome.
s- yeah, man, it was well said. It's just so relatable, and I feel like there's so many other guys out there who feel like that, and I see it all the time, and like we carry this burden too sometimes, and we feel like it's all our responsibility as dads, and it's not always. I mean, obviously, we do want to be the spiritual leader of our family, but we have a partner with our wife, right? And we have our kids, and we don't have to be perfect either, you know. Excuse me. Um, like presence i- is not perfection. It's not about being perfect, it's about being present, you know.
But I think a lot of it's come from just how, our dads, their dads were all
Oh,
raised in, you got to be the
totally.
provider. And as long as you're making sure there's food on the table, money in the bank, like you're doing your job. And then mom can do everything else. And I think
Dude,
it's
it's
kind of changed now to where dad realizes that the relationship with the kids is a lot more important than how
so
much money
true.
you're bringing in.
So true.
Yeah.
So true. But there's like a little gap there, right? Like there's a disconnect because everything you said is so true, right? But for a lot of men, like they they haven't learned
Mhm.
those skills, like how to regulate their emotions, right? Like you said, like our fathers were just like the same with me. My father was just like, work hard, work hard. Um, don't cry, don't be a
Yeah.
baby, right?
Get
All
the
that,
man up. Yeah.
man up,
Yeah.
And so like men struggle when it comes to having those kind of deep, intimate, emotional kind of moments with their wives and even their children, man. You know, and sometimes they don't know they just don't know what to do, and so they'll stay working. They'll work longer hours, or they'll shut down, they'll snap, all these things, and it's not what they want to do.
Mm.
It's just, they don't feel emotionally safe in the moment, or they just don't know how to handle their emotions at the time, you know.
So how would you go about, so someone who wants to kind of get out of that
Yeah.
routine, that structure, how would you kind of go about talking to someone and getting their mind freed, I guess?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's a great question, right? So it's it's about it's really just understanding your nervous system, right? And how we work. Um, I'd say there's three steps really, I guess. It would be like maybe step one would be awareness of it, right? So like to recognize the state that you're in. So, a lot of times the guys come home from work, they walk in the door and they're already like 8 out of 10, right? Because they're bringing all the energy. But just notice the state that you're in. Like be aware, and be aware if you get triggered, or if your wife says a comment or something that bothers you, or the kids are, just notice what's going on inside, right? Like if you take a beat and you slow down, say, oh shit, like there it is, man. Like I feel it, right? Be aware of it, right? And then you can, from there, when you notice everything, you can make a little downshift, right? The next step would be like so awareness and then regulation. So then you kind of like downshift. And so this is key. It's right. Like you can't think your way into calm,
Mhm.
right? You have to like regulate your physiology first. And so that looks like breathing slower. right? Longer exhales, drop your shoulders, relax your jaw, talk a little bit slower. And these signals actually tell your nervous system we're safe now, right? And then once we calm down, our reactions calm down. And then the third step would be engagement. And then we respond from presence and not from pressure or reactivity, right? So it'd be like awareness, regulation, and engagement from calm.
Awesome. So we had Rudy Reekstens a while ago. It's been a minute since he's been on, but he kind of talked about it too, just kind of having the regulation and kind of how do you switch your brain off from like, man, I had this crazy day at work to
Yeah.
come home and like not be in that and not look at my kids as my employees or my workers or
Yeah.
and so something he did was or I don't know if it was him or his friend, but they would touch a leaf right outside their front door every day, right?
Yes.
And you kind of put all your day on that leaf instead of on your
Oh my
family.
God, it's brilliant. Yeah. That's awesome. And that's it, right? So that's like the awareness,
Mm-hmm.
right? He's taking a beat and he's just like acknowledging it, right? And just stopping for a second. And because so many people, like a lot of people too, when you're caught up like that, what happens is your prefrontal cortex, which is like your thinking part of your brain, it shuts off, and that's why we get into like these like silly arguments or fights or whatever, snap and shut down at our kids. So when you take that beat and when he reaches out and holds that leaf, that's what he's doing. And it shifts everything. Shifts everything.
Well, I was talking. We were introduced by Jason Schnitzer, and
Yeah,
something he was talking about was like because our kids are their frontal cortex and stuff is not developed yet, and so when we
correct.
start freaking out and we're letting them borrow ours at that moment, then
Yes,
everyone's freaking out. So it
100%.
helps that too, where once we can kind of figure out how to control our brain and like just take away all this sensory overload of life, then our kids can see like, okay, this is what we need to do because you have to model it because your kids are
1000%.
a
Because they
mirror.
don't have, that's it. They mirror us, and
Mm-hmm.
their prefrontal cortex is not developed yet. Like it really isn't. So they truly are borrowing ours,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't learn emotional control from what we say. They learn it from how we handle pressure and how we handle and respond to things in front of them. And so that's why awareness again is just so key,
I
And
think that's
it's not easy. It's not easy either. Being a dad is it's tough. There's no, it's very cliche and you hear it all the time, right? Like there's no playbook, but it's so true that there's no playbook,
mm-hmm.
right? We're all just trying to do the best we can and be the best fathers we can, man. And it's not always easy, you know. But the whole thing is like you just don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present and be there with them.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot on here. Just being present is the best thing you could do for your kids.
Y-
At the
Yeah.
end of the day, we don't want to be like a lot of times like our parents were. We're like, man, I didn't know my dad.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
They
we
worked
want some of that.
so much. They worked so much. And so it's funny because like we're in this generation now that's like in between, right? Like we're learning all this stuff, but we were brought up by fathers who didn't know this. They
Mm-hmm.
did not know any of this stuff. And so it can be challenging because, it's how we're kind of wired, right? And sometimes it's like our default mode or whatever, right? To think that way or to go into those kind of old habits. So that's the work I do is like, recognizing that state that you're in so that we can rewire those pathways and kind of just change your habits. And and then, you know, over time, everything changes. Everything changes.
What would you say to a
Yeah.
dad who like like I'm too late in life. My kids are too old. I can't change anything. What would you kind of say to someone who thinks they're kind
Oh
of stuck?
man, sure. I would say that there's actually, tests that were studies have shown that we are actually um, we're actually able to change at any stage of life. That's a common misconception. But even um, into old age, you can still change. Um, oh my gosh, I'm zoning out here, I'm forgetting the word, but you can still change, those neural links and the pathways and the patterns and habits that you have. You can do that. It's never too late. It's never too late, and especially if it's about your kids, it's like, it's never too late. Now is always the best time.
I think if we're willing to spend 8-10 hours a day working our butts off for our kids, I think we can take 5-10 minutes a day to kind of get in and learn how to take that chill pill and
Yeah,
relax a little bit. I think
for
I mean, and
sure.
it helps our kids in the long run too, because like you said, we're that middle generation that our parents they did the work and that's all they knew. Now we're kind of flipping the script and changing things up, and our kids will really be the ones that benefit from that because they're going to be super strong when it comes to like
Thousand
acknowledging their
percent.
emotions. Yeah.
It's so true. It's so true. Because, we're not raising the kids necessarily. We're raising the men and the
Mm-hmm.
women that they're gonna grow up to be, And I see this now. Uh I've got a 10-year-old and I've got a 17 and an 18-year-old. And those are my stepkids, but I've watched them grow up, and they, we have such an impact. We make such an impact on our kids. So we have to try and we have to do our best.
Yeah. And that's what we can do. I mean, it just dads are always thinking like, well, I have, like you said, they want perfection. They're like, I have to do this. I have to make
Hmm.
sure I'm the best. No, you don't,
Yeah,
because when your kids are seeing the perfection, they're also seeing like the freak out that comes with the perfection, because it overloads most of the time because you think, oh, I got to keep da, 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 and then you're just
a
blowing up the
thousand
top
percent. So
versus like
true.
I can do this. You can take a
Yeah,
step back sometimes, and we always have to be at 100% or going a million miles an hour and just pedal to the metal type stuff versus I'm gonna
yes,
take a step back and actually, like you said, be the presence and be there with my kids in the times that matter.
that's it, man. And that's what I try and do now, I just even recently with my son, he was just going through some stuff. So that's what I do now is I just sit down. I'm like, I sit next to him and I'm just like, hey, buddy, like I'm with you. Like this is tough, right? This feels hard. And he's like, yeah, daddy, it doesn't. I'm like, yeah. And I don't want to solve it for him, right? What I want for him is to learn that it it can be tough, yes, and and he can get through it,
Mm.
right? And I'm here and he's got support, so he's not alone. And it's okay, right? And you can get through it. So the next time he experiences something tough, he doesn't just shut down or collapse, right? He's like, he builds that. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I'm forgetting the word. It's driving me nuts. Um, Neuroception of, rebuilding his neural pathways so that becomes his instinct is, uh, it's tough, but I can get through it.
And I think it
That's, I
does
think,
come
what
with
we all want
repetition
for our
too, because I
kids.
know a lot of dads, like for the listeners, they might go, well, I tried that and it didn't work. Well, the thing is, you have to do it more than
Hmm.
once sometimes. Sometimes it's not gonna be the
Yeah.
first time because their kids, like we said, they're not developed. It's not gonna click right away. Like it's gonna take some
And
repetition.
it's so true. And another thing to consider too is like, because we were talking about like our fathers and how we grew up. And then if we think about our kids and how they're growing up today, it's totally different,
Hmm.
right? It's totally different. It's a different world. And that was something that I needed to reconcile too and come to an understanding because I was having a real big problem with my son playing on the game so much, But and I'm not, whatever, to each their own, everybody's got their own things and whatever, but it is a different world too. And I think that we have to be open to that a little bit as well. Like there was no online game playing for us because if there was, we probably would have been doing a little bit of it too, you know? And for them, it can be how they regulate with other kids. Um, so it's not always, evil or like the problem.
Mm.
It can be how they regulate and how they um, calm their nervous system, right? Through talking to their friends and whatever. But just like anything, you monitor it, and that's
Yeah, I
what we
think
did
when we
anyway.
were younger, we could, go down the block and play with our friends. Nowadays, it's like I think the
Yeah,
issue is there's so much like we all know nowadays. Like we know everything that's going on in the world versus when we were younger, you didn't really know what was going on. So there wasn't that layer of fear over
yeah,
everything. Now it's like, well, I don't want my kid to go 2 blocks away where I can't see him.
yeah. That well said. Yeah, yeah,
So I get that because my son, he's a gamer too. And like a lot of the times, like that's where he hangs out with his friends is, they play Minecraft together.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so now we try to do moderation, right?
Hmm.
And yeah, we grew up outside all the time, riding our bikes and building tree forts. I say to him now today, let him go build a fort. And he looks at me like I'm a crazy person. But what?
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. But
It
but
was
yeah,
it
it's a
was a
different
different world.
world too.
Yeah. And it's weird because like I miss that. Like I miss being able to just we'll go out to the lights and the lights turn on, then come in and all that fun stuff. Like there is kids in my neighborhood my kids go out and play with and stuff like that. But most of the time they're like, well, I don't go outside. It's not fun. I can go build a
Right. And
world.
like outside and do what?
Yeah.
And it's like, for us it was like, you had to be home when the sun went down. That meant it was time for dinner,
Hmm.
right? Now it's like go outside. But sometimes my older stepson, the 18-year-old, he'll take the 10-year-old out and they'll go play basketball down at the park or something. I love that.
Yeah. Well, that's a
And
good thing
then
too. As your
when
kids
I
get
get
older.
when I get times, I'll go out and shoot hoops with him or
Nice.
something. And I'll tell you, that's another great trick too. It's like I've learned the hard way, right? But like so often when our kids are upsetting us, or if we're upset or whatever, our kids aren't understanding something, it's just so easy to get frustrated, right? But one thing, to touch back on them not having that prefrontal cortex,
Hmm.
one thing I've learned the hard way is like we cannot lecture our kids and expect them to understand everything. You know, like I, I've tried. I'll tell you from experience. Sitting down and trying to have like this intellectual conversation, it goes right over their heads. Like what? So instead, I'm like, hey, come on outside, kiddo. Let's go shoot some hoops for a minute. And then he looks at me a little funny, like, uh, and I'm like, hey, come on. And I get him moving, right? And now we're just outside and we're just, messing around, play pig, play, whatever, horse. From there, now I've got his body's moving and his state is shifted, my state is shifted, and now we can actually communicate a little bit. And that is infinitely better than, sitting down on the couch and looking eye to eye to have this intense conversation with a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've definitely done that in the past where you just sit down, all right, let's sit down. I'm going to take 30 minutes and you're going to take notes on this lecture.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. Like they're a college like kid, like, but they truly like they quite literally use our nervous system and
Hmm.
how we handle and respond to things. Those are all the cues for their emotional system. And then there's really important times of the day as well too, like first thing in the morning. It's very important to stay calm in the morning, right? You don't want to like rush and be rushing and yelling and arguing, right? Because, our kids are borrowing our nervous system. So we don't want them going out in the day like that, right? And then another thing too is right when they come home, if they've been at school all day and now they come home, this is home and this is like home base and it's safe and it should be safe. It should feel that way, you know, because they're using up a lot of their energy when they're out there in the world trying to
Hmm.
figure it all out. And so when they come home, um, it's important that they come home to a safe environment and a safe place, you know, not like do your homework, go to your room and make sure you do your homework, you take a shower, blah, 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 you know, because it can be easy to do that.
Well,
So,
I think a lot of parents, they don't look at it as like, okay, you just worked 8 hours. Like, what do you think your kid was doing? Like, they just spent 8 hours at school.
yes,
It's the same thing
yes,
on their level. Like,
yes.
you need a break when you come home.
Yes, yeah, man. And it's so easy too to be like, you don't know what, like, I work hard for this family, blah, 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 right? But the kids don't understand that. You can't
Hmm.
use that in like in an argument to a child, you know? I work my ass off to put food on this table. Like they don't really truly know what that means, you know?
I'll come back with
And
them. Well, I
they're
worked my ass off doing division at school.
yeah, exactly. I,
Yeah.
I I worked my ass off trying to figure out who I am with all these
Hmm.
other people, right? Oh my goodness. Yeah. And it's a lot for them. So we have to be be a calm, safe, and steady presence for them. Yeah. And it's not always easy. And that's why, you know, you can show up for somebody as much as you've shown up for yourself. So, you know, the work starts with you and yourself. And when you do the work on yourself, you can be the best for everybody in your life.
Yep. I love that.
You know? Yeah, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, it's like with talking like for this podcast, when I talk to dads and stuff like that, like I don't expect a dad to like talk to me if I don't have the receipts for what I've done and like this kind of stuff. And with my kids, like I can't go to them and be like, well, you need to know how to do this. You know how to be, you know, mindfully correct about everything. But I'm gonna sit here and just be wrong about everything. Like you have to, like we talked
Mm,
about earlier, you have to be that what goes first so they can mirror off of you. Because if you're just gonna be angry and upset all the time, what do you think your kids are gonna be?
yeah.
Yeah.
100%. You know what I would say? Our reactions become our child's inner voice. And if you like stop and think about that, that's heavy, you know?
Hmm.
And so it's like it matters, you know? Take take a beat. Take a beat, slow your cadence because, we all have an inner voice and it's like, we all want what's best for our kids,
And
And
sometimes
so
that means sacrificing what's best for us
yeah, I mean, I think so, but
to a point.
I to a point,
Yeah.
to a point because I think too, it's like this stupid one, like, you put your own oxygen mask on first, but like you do the work on yourself so that you can be, your best self or your most authentic self is what I like to say. And then from that state, you will just naturally be a better parent. You'll be grounded, you'll have more presence. And I think if you do the work, the more work you do, the less you have to sacrifice, let's say. You know? Yeah. Because a lot of times we're not angry or, we're just dysregulated. So it's about learning how to just regulate yourself in the moment. And it's not about perfection. It's about
Well, if people want to reach out and kind of look into your coaching, where can they find you?
yeah. So I'm on Instagram. And if this resonates with anybody, they can hop on a free call. There's a link in my bio at Cappelletti Coaching, and we get on a quick discovery call and tell me what's going on and see if it's a fit.
And it's Cappelletti.
Yes, thank you. You're the man.
Yeah.
It's yeah, Cappelletti, coaching.
It's a lot of letters.
I
Awesome.
know, I know.
And then what we like to ask is like, if there's a new dad or there's a dad going through the rough of life and just doesn't know kind of where to do, or what is a piece of advice that you would give that dad?
I would say presence. Your presence over perfection. You know, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be calm and present, you know. Yeah.
Well, sir, thank you for your time today. Just thank you for coming on and
Yeah,
speaking
man.
into
Thank you
men and
so
just
much for
being
having me on.
yeah. Anybody wants to check him out, like you said, it's on Instagram, Cappelletti Coaching. And we'll see you guys next episode. We love you. Have a good day.